What's up, world?
Hey,
It's Quinton here.
and
And
Terran.
title of this video is Who Told You That You Were Naked? Who told you that, Terran? Who told you you was naked? Anyways,
Society.
right. So we were having a conversation, and this is based off a conversation I had with my little brother Ishmael. Shout out to Ishmael. This guy's a very, very deep 20-year-old man. He will depict the story of Genesis, the story of Adam and Eve so well, that he will make you think, well, not make you think, but he will let you see a whole different perspective. But in the story, and Adam and Eve, they were in the garden, they were living it up. They were being true to themselves at first, because they were naked and they were still, living life and still, progressing, wasn't ashamed or anything like that. Until one day, they say that this cunning serpent, the cunning serpent. And remember that the serpent is representation of the ego. That little voice that be in your head that tell you that you can't do something. So the cunning serpent came and he told him, if you eat this fruit, you'll be like God, knowing good and evil. So Eve said, what she said? She ate it. Then, long story short, she went to Adam and ate it. And instantly their eyes were open and they clothed themselves. And then God called out to them, was like, where you at? And he's like, I'm here. And he was like, what are you doing? Like, who told you that you were naked? Who told them that they were naked? That ego. That's that ego. That ego will devastate any dream or any endeavor or any business that you're trying to start. The ego would tell you things like, hey man, you can't really do it. You need to have this and this before you can do that. You gotta be this certain way, or it'll say things like
It'll have you focusing on things outside of yourself.
Outside of yourself.
Your outside appearance.
Perfect. That's a perfect thing. It'll have you thinking
like even when Adam and Eve, like when they were naked, they covered themselves up.
Mm-hmm.
That was an outward appearance. Like before they had no understanding.
They were true to themselves.
Yeah.
They were true to themselves.
They didn't see anything wrong with it.
They didn't limit themselves, you know what I'm saying? Like you said, by these outside influences out here that really influence us, like fear, doubt. Doubt is a huge one. It's a huge one that the ego brings up in the inside of us, and it pretty much it'll stagnate whatever. It'll make us unproductive. These are the little things that we tell ourselves, man. We all do it. We all do it, But you got to get rid of that. Once you get rid of that and start being you and start being true to yourself, man, like doors will just begin to open. Like I always say, doors begin to open, the floodgates will begin to open, because then, because like in the story, it says that because the serpent told them, once you eat this fruit, you'll be like God, knowing good and evil. He said, like God, but you already were God. You already were there. You already had it. You already were perfect. You already were true. Everything that you need in life is already within you. So you don't need to go outside of you. Who told you that God was this outside source that's outside of you? Who told you that? When he's already right here. Already here. Who told you these things that limits us, man? So that's what I want you to really realize today, is that stop limiting yourself, Don't let fear and doubt and procrastination and complaining and just negativity and all those things just weigh you down.
Don't get in your own way.
Right.
Your own thoughts.
Right, because that's the real competition is between you and you.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. At the end of the day, it's not between you and anybody else outside of you. It's you
being
and you.
better than who you were the day before.
Right, because you will talk yourself out of every little thing that you want to do. Think about when you was a kid, when you was like, man, I really want to. You had certain dreams and aspirations to do when you were a kid. What happened to that? Your mom or your parents or your grandparents or anybody outside of society was like, nah, you can't do that, man. That's too hard, That's unrealistic. You can't do that. There you go again. That's letting that ego and letting that outside influence come and affect you like that. But you already fine. You already good.
Right. You are already amazing.
You already, you're already there. You already God. So, man, it's just an amazing story, man. So, just remember this message that I said. Who told you that you were naked? Think about that question when God asked Adam that, and that was really his true self talking to him, like, who told you this? You already were great. Who told you this? So, peace, guys, and I'm gonna keep pushing the message of produce for yourself because I want you to be great. I mean, you're already great. You just have it just has to be awakened up inside of you. You have to be, what is it, deprogrammed to think these certain things that you've been conditioned to think. You've been conditioned.
Society has taught us to think.
Right. You've been limiting yourself the whole time.
And it can be a tough challenge just because we, of course, like our whole lives, we have been conditioned. Of course, like just going to like regular school, institutionalized, where they, teach you to think a certain way. Right. And so it's really, really difficult to kind of break that perception that we see, every day in the media, every day that we see just with our peers talking amongst each other and probably even talking about each other, becoming subconscious about, our flaws and fabricating flaws on top of that, like making something out of nothing, like making
just
yourself think that something is wrong with you when it's not. Or making yourself think that you don't know something when you do. You're already like knowledgeable and you already have this innate ability to be whatever you want to be limitless. Right. So that's another thing that ego does. It limits you. You feel like you have to fit into this box, that you have to identify yourself with something, or that you're better than something else. Like, just, embrace true self and be yourself.
It's just you versus you. Don't worry about nobody else. And that's how, even through my experiences, example, I would always be a person that would always be trying to look for validation, like from outside sources and stuff like that. Like when I'm doing a proposal or whatever, I always run back to Terran and be like, Terran, how does this look? Does this look right or whatever? Why am I trying to get validation from her when I already have all the answers inside of me already? Why do I do that? Why do we all do that? Why do you feel like you need to have this certain piece of paper to validate to the world that you know a certain subject or you know a certain topic?
And why do we judge others? Like judge others for just not having the same belief as you or just doing something different. Just as like when I put up an article about, a girl who had hair under her arms. And of course we, automatically, see that as a negative. But in all actuality, that is something that society taught us to feel like is a bad thing, So it's like we have to just be mindful of the things that are perceived to us daily and the things that we are conditioned to think. And just try to challenge that and just try to break that mold. It's such a tough journey to try to break it, but like once you break free, or once you even start to chisel into that problem, like you feel this sense of freedom and you feel so much better, and then you just feel this security within yourself, and that's really important, to be secure within yourself.
Secure within yourself, that's a good one.
Yeah,
be very secure. So who told you that you was naked? Eliminate all of these things, man, and just be you. Just start. Be free. Be you, be great, man. So, peace, produce for yourself.
Peace.